Road Less Traveled podcast. I'm your host, Hilary Haron, and today we have with us Samantha Leon. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Give us before you give us your title, I'm going to give you an intro.
Okay.
My good friend and photography badass.
Oh, thank you.
So give us your official title and a little bit of background.
I am a professional photographer and I specialize in fine art, maternity, family, and children.
What led you into that specific type of photography?
So I have always had a huge love of the arts. I studied art history for a while when I was in college, and I really have to credit my mom. We grew up going to museums. I've traveled the world with her and gone to some of the most amazing museums in the world. And so I have just kind of had a love for that. And I guess I could say traditional digital photography has just never been my style. It's never been the type of photography that I ever felt drawn to. I started with film photography growing up, as most people did. And then I just kind of figured out a way to edit my work to make it look how I see it in my head.
That's amazing. It almost looks like a painting.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of the goal. Yeah.
So did you start the business? So you moved back to Fresno. You were living in the Bay Area.
Yes.
Moved back to Fresno.
Yes.
Had you started the business before you moved back?
No, not really. I actually, Chris, my husband, bought me my first DSLR camera when I went to Russia with my mom. And then we had the kids and I kind of delved into it, but the job I had at the time didn't, it was a hobby. And then we moved here and I really needed something to do. So I kind of just dove head first, and I was shooting out of my house when we did Hudson's newborn photos.
Oh, that was a whole thing.
And then, I moved to my own studio, and it's just kind of taken off.
So something the whole world might not know about you is that you are a textbook introvert.
Oh, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about starting a business as an introvert, especially one that deals with people all the time?
So it's really funny because the majority of artists in general, not just within photography, but the majority of us tend to be neurodivergent in some fashion. And a lot of that kind of ties into my introvertedness. I'm not one of many words. And so it's just, I kind of just fold within myself. And as I've gotten older, my perception of how people view me and how I view the world has completely changed. I'm a lot more confident in myself. And so I just kind of feel like I don't know, I just kind of turn in, and I have a very small, close group of friends, and I just don't know. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain.
Well, I mean, and as an introvert myself, I feel like you have to work yourself up to do these things.
Yes.
And as a person of few words, thank you for doing a podcast.
Of course.
I know that is tough.
Yes.
But I feel like your journey and just knowing you and getting to know you over the last few years, I relate to. Because you almost have to put on this other version of yourself to go do your work.
Yes.
And then you get to go back and be yourself at home while you're maybe editing or something.
Yeah. So I can kind of credit my old job. So a lot of people don't know. So I worked in administration at Sanford Healthcare. I was, I went from suits and meetings to being home in jeans and flip-flops every day. And so I would go to work and I would have to put on, essentially a whole new persona to be able to, participate in high-level meetings with the board, medical staff. And so I think I just kind of learned to be like, I can do anything for an hour. It's what I always tell myself. Even with sessions now with people that I haven't really gotten to know yet, I kind of just tell myself, well, I could do, anything for an hour and a half or whatever ends up being. And the sessions always end up fine. And I always end up becoming almost friends with a lot of my clients. And so it's just, I think sometimes I psych myself up and then stuff always ends up being fine.
So part of that is overthinking a lot, right?
Absolutely.
How do you manage that part with I'm guessing the overthinker, the artistic, and then like the mom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're worrying about kids too.
Yes. So it's just, I don't know. I kind of just replay stuff in my head a lot of times. And I info dump on my husband a lot. I'm very, very fortunate to have the support system that I do. So with Kristen, my mom, I just kind of just dump on them sometimes, and they just like, I rapid fire talk, I'll start talking really fast, but a lot of people don't see that side of me. So yeah, I have my select few people, and you're one of you heard me go rapid fire, but then the majority of people that meet me, it's just very like, I don't know.
It's almost like sometimes you need to burn it off.
Yeah.
And then you can make sense
of it.
And then I
can, yeah. And then the next day I always feel better too. So it's like, however I'm feeling in that moment, if there's like a night that I can't sleep because something has happened, and I know that when I wake up, I won't feel that way. So yeah, I think a lot of wisdom comes with age.
I know. It's so hard though,
It
right?
is so hard.
It's hard to go through the stuff to get the wisdom.
Yeah.
You can't be old and wise if you were never young and dumb.
Yes.
Along those lines.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
in today's marketing world, the way you have to put yourself out there on social media, it's a struggle. Like I feel like for most people, even more so for somebody who I think creates incredible art that speaks for itself. Yeah. But then what people I think want to consume is like you as a person too.
Right.
How do you navigate that?
I don't really navigate it. I'll just be honest. I'll go through spurts where I feel really confident talking to the camera, and everyone that interacts with whatever my stories, they are always so kind, and they say a lot to me in DMs, but then I just get kind of like, oh gosh, it's so dumb. Nobody really cares what I have to say. Like I'll just shoot and then not really have an opinion about things. And I think what also is really hard as an artist, I have a lot of opinions about things, but then you go into the marketing side and you're like, well, I don't want to hurt I don't want to hurt my business, but it just comes along with being an artist where, we have, I don't know.
You're very passionate, like
about
there's depth.
Yeah, absolutely. But then it's like, then I always think, oh, people don't really care what I have to say. So then I don't say it.
Your people will find you. And
I found that. Yeah.
Like if Taylor Swift has anything to teach us, she has a lot to teach us. Yes. But so I read something about the vote.org website or something getting a ton of visits after she posted her political opinion. Which there's a part of me that's like, oh my gosh, don't care about your political opinion. Right. But at the same time, you have to think like artists are human beings too.
Right. And I think the way that she said it was very poignant because she didn't say, you need to do that. You need to vote for this person. Yeah. This is what I am doing. I am just encouraging you to go out and vote, however, whichever direction you feel is best for you.
Like get educated about it, learn something about it.
Absolutely.
But a lot of like everything, even that specifically, emotionally driven. Right. And I mean, even like your artwork, heavily emotionally driven.
Right.
Do you find that where you are emotionally changes kind of the outcome of your work or what you're really like focused on? So if somebody comes in and wants to do a very like whimsical kind of shoot and you're feeling dark and broody, how does that work?
I have experienced that over the last couple of years because we have had some really major health things going on with our immediate family. And so I would go through these periods where I'm just like, this feels like a job, but I get in there and I get it done. And then the gallery looks beautiful. It looks nice. And my clients like it, but I can absolutely tell a difference between things that I shoot that I really have like connected with my clients versus some that I haven't really connected with. Yeah, I can definitely see it.
You can see it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else can. I can't tell.
I know. Yeah. But, I also, I have kind of told myself that it doesn't really matter what, so to go back to like my artistic work, it doesn't really matter what people perceive it as or think about my work. It's just, this is just what I want to create. And if they don't like it, they don't have to consume it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great perspective.
That's how I'm kind of feeling about it now. So,
well, and I feel like that's worked for you, right? Yeah. You're pretty busy, pretty booked.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm very fortunate. When we go, your people find you. It's so true. I have, clients that have come to me several times. And then it seems like every year has progressed and I have found some really amazing clients, and it tends to go back to people who really value family, because that's my biggest thing. And so, I think what you put out is what you get back. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a big deal. Especially again, in kind of tying that into like the marketing.
Yeah.
What you put out there is who you're attracting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And I love your work in particular. We have a Sam wall in our house.
Yes.
Which we absolutely love. And then Christmas is coming up. So you do a lot of Christmas, a lot of holiday.
Yes.
How are you emotionally preparing for that? Because I know that's more of a barrage of constant energies.
Yeah. So I am old school. I still use a paper calendar so I can see, again, it goes back to that managing your neurodivergence, right? And finding tricks to help you move through the world and function as a normal human. So
it's harder than people may think.
So tech doesn't always work for me, even though, I'm very skilled, with technology, computers and all the things. But for me, I have to still use a paper calendar, and I have to look at it as a month view, and I write everything in it. And then if something changes, I go back and I cross out, and then I can go back and reference. So I plan the holidays several months in advance, and I write it out, the days that I'm shooting, and then I have to tell myself the days that I'm editing. Because then it forces me to stick to that. Otherwise, it's like, oh, I'm going to go walk around Target for the whole day until the kids get off work.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So I have to, I schedule time just like any other full-time job. So
like time blocking.
Yeah.
Now that you said that, I actually it never occurred to me that it would be something like editing would be something you'd be like, no, I'll just get back to it. I'll get back to it. I can do it. I have to
schedule it. And now I've gotten really good. I know how many days it takes for me to edit an entire gallery. So a family session, I know how many days it would take me. And so I always mark those in, and I say edit, client's name, and then go and schedule it. So holiday right now, all of November is editing, and then December, I essentially take that time off. Kids are off from school, and so
be with family.
Yeah.
Family is super important too.
Yes. Yeah.
I think, is family like a driver?
Oh, absolutely. For sure. To be able to have the job that I do, to contribute financially to my family, but then I'm still there for everything, rarely am I not able to attend something. And luckily Chris's job is pretty flexible. He's his own boss too. And so we tag team and partner each other with that. And so, I think I'm praying, my kids see how fortunate they really are. And it's never lost on me how privileged we are. And so I'm pick up, drop off every day, all Teddy's cross country. Anything that Maddie has going on, I'm able to be there.
Okay, but tell me how you stay sane being a mom, because I'm like right on that cusp right now where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make
it. I struggle with it a lot, and Teddy just turned 11, and so ever since the start of the school year, I was telling Chris yesterday, I feel like I'm grieving because I have always felt like my purpose is being a mom, but they're getting older, and he's not pulled away. It's none of that, but I see the change, and junior high is going to be coming up, and I don't know what that's going to be like, and I feel like I'm having to. I look back on photos of them when they were little, and you kind of have to grieve that process, and nobody talks about that. They don't talk about the transition from small toddler, grade school age, which kind of groups together. I never really felt that loss, but it's almost like you're grieving the loss of a person because they're not the same people either, you know?
So, well, mine are a couple years behind yours. So we're in that like leaving toddlerhood, leaving diapers, developing opinions, really testing the boundaries, not as reliant, but still want you present, which is overwhelming in and of itself. But then as you move through that and they get more independence, then you're like, but don't you need me? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. And absolutely. And then, you know, situations and problems get bigger, and, you know, we've talked about stuff that we've dealt with at school, and it's oh man, I don't know. I'm going to be fully gray by the time they're done with high school for sure.
What do you do to recharge from all that? I mean, your work is highly passionate and deeply personal. Kids are hard. So anybody who says that it's fine, you're going to miss this, you kind of want to shove them when you're in Target.
I think when they go back to school, I struggle in the summertime balancing because, you know, finding people, they're still not able to be home by themselves for extended periods of time. And so, summertime is a struggle, but once school starts, and then if I'm still sort of feeling that way, I cut back on the amount of sessions that I do, because I really just want to maintain that balance where it's still art for me and it hasn't become a 9-to-5 grind. Because there have been periods of time where I have definitely felt that way. And so then I just kind of pull back from that, and I push clients out and manage it that way, I guess.
I think that's amazing. What do you do when you need Sam time? Like, are you a nature person? I also have Target therapy, so I get that one.
I guess it just kind of depends on the day and the season. You know, you and I, we live in a beautiful neighborhood. And so when it's cool, I like to get outside and walk. I don't really know. I don't have to take extended periods of time to recharge in that way. Alone time will really do that. And however I can get that, it tends to be good. However I'm able to get that, I guess.
So alone time. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, so like when you're editing, but then you're on in a different way.
No, because I'm still being tasked with something that I have to get done. It has to be free alone time.
Yes. Okay. Where I get to choose what I do. Being my own boss has proven to be a little bit difficult. Yes. I don't like to listen to anybody, not even myself.
Yes.
So I too leverage calendars and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's just, it designates the days, and then I write on there off. And then I'm like, I know I don't have any obligations that day. I can, drop the kids off, and I can do whatever I need to do, go to lunch with my mom or hang out with a friend, or, just really do whatever I want to do that day. Yeah.
Are you planning any business growth, or are you really feeling peaceful with where the business is at right now?
I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good about where I'm at right now. Things really grew really fast for me. And so I think where I need to sit in it for a while, because for me to grow further, it would be additional teaching. So I do classes and one-on-one mentoring in the studio, but for me to do anything more than that, it would take travel, and I'm not willing to travel right now. I've been asked to attend photography conferences and participate in those. But that would be being gone for multiple days at a time. And I don't know. It's just not something that's calling me right now. It's interesting because I was always so career driven, and my time at Stanford, there was a constant push, right? You can learn to do it. Lots of things. There was always classes to take. There was always, certifications to get, things to learn, people to work with and mentor with. And so I was always feeling that I needed and wanted to be something different and grow more. But I think in the last, really, I would say 2 years, I feel okay not being like so out there, if that makes sense.
Like a little more settled, less like anxious to check a box, like for some
I feel like it was my ego driving that, I if I had those 2 images get published by Vogue, and it was just like, oh my God, I need to do more. I need to apply to do this. And I need to be, what else can I get a publication from? It was just like, I was really struggling with that last year, but I don't know, something shifted with me this year. And I feel really content.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
it's a hard place to get to.
It is.
Especially when you're an introvert and a thinker.
Yeah.
And a creative, right? Very passionate. Yeah. So very, very deep.
Yes.
That's amazing to hear, because I think as women specifically, we struggle with finding that contentment. We're never good enough moms. We're never put together enough. We're never successful enough. And I personally struggle with that every day. So to hear that, it's like, okay, well, what's the secret sauce? Yeah. What's the balance? And sounds like it's boundaries.
It is. Absolutely. It's boundaries. It's being able to tell people no. And I make a decision, and I'm confident with whatever decision that is. And, I'm very lucky with the people that I have allowed to be in my life and have access to me. I think that's another thing is I've gotten really good about not giving my access to myself to people that make me, I don't know. I don't know if I can trust them. And so,
quality over quantity.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a really good piece of advice. Yeah. In the kind of spirit of advice, you were talking about mentorship. So doing mentorship. So can we talk a little bit about your mentors and then what you're doing as a mentor?
Yeah. So my old job, I would say, so I had started working in the business office, and I worked with a guy named Joe, and he was the one that I was so young, when I moved up there, I had my own apartment. It was just like, I'm going to take on the world. And so it was that's when that drive started. I need to do more. I need to do more. I need to learn how to do, I need to be better. I need to be the best. It was a constant. I need to be the best. Mm-hmm. And so he told me when I was applying for a job that he was encouraging me to apply for, he was like, what's the worst that can happen if you don't get it? They're not going to slash your tires. And it was like, when you're 23, it was just like, oh my God.
Don't give me that logical perspective.
I know, but it never dawned on me. Why am I putting so much pressure on myself when, I have a job, and I'm doing fine. And so anytime I have done anything that has felt uncomfortable, I always have Joe's voice in my head. That's
amazing advice, by the way. What's the worst that could happen?
They're not going to no one's going to slash your tires.
And even if they do, you can replace them. Right?
Yeah. But it's just, whatever it is that you can imagine is going to be I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, I was working with two VPs at the time, Sonia and Scott. I did end up getting the job, by the way. And so Sonia and Scott, and then Scott ended up going on to becoming president and CEO of, and so I had worked under him for such a long time, and we were a department of 2, really. There was just the 2 of us in there, and it was just, he gave me access to a lot of knowledge, a lot of people. I got to meet some really amazing people because of him. And I just feel like moving here, I've kind of taken that with me, which is, I don't know. I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate.
That's amazing. And you pay it forward.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you shared a little bit about mentoring in your studio. Yeah. So I know for a fact that you've had a couple people fly out from other parts of the country to work with you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's daunting always, right? Because especially as an introvert, they'll well, what are we going to do with this? And I'm just come, I don't know. You just come here.
You're going to shadow me. That is how this works.
But I've had people come from Michigan. I've had, it's an honor that people have trusted me with that. And I keep my mentoring open, I guess, is that they'll email me asking me questions, or they'll ask about product, whatever. And I'll always give it, an opinion, but you need to find your own style. But this is how I do it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to necessarily work for everybody.
So it's not like a one-time shot. They don't just come hang out. Like if they have additional questions, you're willing to engage.
Yeah. You know, and I know that in the mentoring space, you know, we want to be valued our time, but it's just, if somebody's going to first pay quite a bit of money to work with you for a day, take the time out of their day, fly across the country, that you should be able to support them. And people are always really respectful. It's not like a constant, you know, trying to always copy everything that I do. They're always very respectful. And so, yeah, unless I ever come across that, I'll keep it open.
I was going to say, and that's part of being a creative, right? Like you're encouraging somebody to create their own style.
Yeah.
With similar or the same tools.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you have anybody in the photography space that you really looked up to or that you liked their style that kind of pushed you this way?
Yeah. So Maggie Robinson, she's actually in the UK. So when I had first started learning, I started taking some online classes for photography, you know, on Facebook. They would like groups that you might be interested in or whatever. And so I joined this group, and at the time it was called Bokeh Bells. I don't even know. And it
You're
was
like, I actually just want to know what that means. Know. So
but it was just like in the description, it was just female photographers. And so I didn't read anything else. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I joined the group, and then I found out very quickly I was the only American woman in the group. And so that's
a whole episode on its own.
Yeah, it was, and it was a really small group. There's only a couple hundred people in there. And so through social media, whatever, I came to know this group of women fairly well. And I just, so I did Zoom training with Maggie in the beginning several times. And she's the one that encouraged me to run my business the way that I do it, the way that I do my ordering appointments and things like that, and the products that I sell. So yeah, I credit her to the success of the business side for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, again, taking somebody's thoughts and ideas and then morphing them into what works for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to think it's working pretty well.
Thank you. Yeah.
What's kind of what's a piece of advice that you would leave? Actually, I'm going to ask you for two pieces of advice. Number one, to an introvert.
Oh, an introvert doing what I'm doing?
Or
just in general?
Wanting to kind of get out of their own head or own way in business in general.
I think it goes back to that self-talk, being able to say, I can do whatever it is for this period of time, you know, and I've survived every uncomfortable moment up to this point. I think that probably would be the best one, and to schedule that alone time, unstructured alone time. So then you have that to look forward to after whatever social situation that you're needing to be put in. And, if it is an introvert that does have that neurodivergent piece to it, I think finding the tricks in knowing that you can mask. I don't think people talk about masking a lot. And so part of telling yourself that you can do anything for an hour and a half is really masking, right? You're becoming palatable for the people that you're around, and learning the ways that you can effectively mask and still participate in society. And
so I have never heard it called masking before. So tell me, give some more definition to that as a neurodivergent myself. I'm very interested in this.
So it tends to run the spectrum of autistic people or inattentive ADHD tend to be the ones that mask the most. So masking can be beneficial, but masking can also be detrimental if you're not able to figure out that you're doing it, how to turn it off. Okay. I have gotten really good with turning it off. And so I think, I think people just need to be cautious of it, because really what masking does is, like I had said, it makes you palatable for non-neurodivergent people. So, and it really kind of helps you not have to have those nights where you're laying awake of like, oh my God, because you get this text from me.
What did I say?
Like, I didn't mean this, like XYZ, because like I'll play the whole thing over. And so, you know, we've had those conversations. So
well, and those conversations go both ways, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
I think the last time I texted you, I was like, I really did not. I'm so sorry.
I was just like, what are
like,
you even talking? Yeah. But then it's like, what are you? I didn't even notice. So, but yeah.
Has it helped you? It's helped me a lot to have other people talk about it, or for like us to be able to have a conversation or be able to say, this is going to sound crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for sounding crazy, but I have to say this. And you're like, oh my God, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Or
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It absolutely does help. I think, you know, social media is inundated with outfit of the day. Oh my God. Like, here are the products. You need to buy the products, but people don't really, to me, they don't share the important things. There's not enough humor on the internet as far as I'm concerned.
It's very dramatic.
It's so,
it's an election year.
Yes. And it's just, I don't know. We're really, really silly at home. And I don't know. I wish there was more humor in social media. And then I feel like when people talk about things that they struggle with, it helps you realize, oh my God, I'm not crazy, or somebody else is struggling with the same thing. So,
Like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
110%.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Like, just kind of maintaining, or?
Yeah. I think really honestly, just right now maintaining, because like I had said at the beginning of the year, there was just such this shift. We switched school districts, we switched schools. And my focus will always be the kids. Of course I have my dreams, but then it's just, I feel like when I look back, I have actually accomplished a lot. And I think I need to be proud of those moments. Right now, I feel like I have always taken the drive of needing to be the best. I need to be better. I was talking to my good friend Stephanie about that, because I was telling her about competitions, and she was just like, well, your work looks so different, things that people tell me. But then I like to compete in competitions where I actually don't do well, because I feel like it shows that there is something to strive for. There are ways to make my work better. And so, yeah, I don't always enjoy when I do a sweep, because it feels almost like, oh, like, who was I competing against?
Yeah.
Myself? Like, God, just, I don't know.
I do that every day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, there are competitions out there that are fierce, and, I always, select the feedback, and the judges give you feedback on your work, and it stings. Absolutely. Rejection of any sort stings. But a couple days later, when I'm not so salty about it, I can go back and look, and I'm like, that was crap. That was absolute crap, or like, how could I have missed whatever it was? So,
but it's cool to have that perspective. How many do you participate in a year? Like, or do you?
It really just depends. I think you and I talked about this. So 2024 was this, I have, and another thing is that I like to move in silence. I don't like to talk about all the things that I enter in, because I feel like it takes it takes something away from me when I do that. But I dove into 2024 to try to be rejected as many times as I could, because rejection is sometimes really hard, and I'm really close to my work. And so I wanted to get rejected as much as possible this year. And I have gotten rejected a lot, but now I can look back 10 months later and I'm like, it doesn't sting anymore, And I think that's where I'm at. Like, I'm comfortable and content where I am right now.
Turning that like rejection into like parlaying it into like an opportunity.
Right.
Or...
Yeah, absolutely. Because I can see my work critically, and I do very much appreciate where it is. And so that's not lost on me. There's a new drive in photography of like, it almost looks like work from the 90s, like a disposable camera. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what a lot of like, you take Vogue. They have, again, like, yes, I had 2 images chosen, but there's a festival in Belfast that, you know, they did a casting or a call for entries. And then when I looked at the ones that they selected, it was just like, oh, that's not me. So it's not a good fit. It's not a good fit for me, you know.
Knowing that's super important.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Is it like grainy? Like
it just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I don't know how
it's
to
just
describe
not
it. It's not my work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you venture out and try other types just for fun? I mean, I know I forced you to do a couple things that you aren't your favorite.
Yeah. But. I've done outdoor photography, but it's not, I don't feel like myself when I do anything different. Like even when I try to do lighter sessions with like whites and stuff, I don't feel good about it. So I'm just dark and moody. It's just mysterious. Who I am. It's just who I am.
I love it. Well, I love who you are, and I appreciate your time so much and your candor and getting deep and vulnerable with us today.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their stories, wisdom, and breaking down barriers with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Your support means the world to me and helps spread the word about the amazing women paving the road less traveled in male-dominated industries. If you have suggestions for a future guest or topic you'd like me to explore, please reach out on social media. I'd love to hear from you. Follow me on your favorite social platform for updates and behind the scenes. Keep pushing boundaries, challenging norms, and lifting each other up.